You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, the A-team is back, homie.
Man, I feel like I've been gone for like 6 months. I don't know why. You know, we're so used to doing these shows, once or even twice a week.
You were putting in time behind the wheel. That's why.
Man, it actually was a pretty good drive. I don't know why, but when you do it by yourself, there was no traffic. The weather was great. Just me and the dog. We were cramped up a little bit though. But yeah, just get you time to reflect. I listened to some really good Joe Rogan podcasts, by the way, and I got a really good one I want to bring up. If anybody knows he's an ex-Navy SEAL, and Joe Rogan likes to bring on like meatheads and really like motivating fighter type manly alpha men, right? If you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, he interviewed a guy named David Goggins, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy before. This guy he's got like the most pull-ups, like Guinness World or something within a day. So like he's ran like 100-mile marathons, and he's that type of like mentality. And he makes you really feel like a real like low-level type dude, like, because this guy is like complete alpha male, just real like dominant type guy. And as soon as I listened to his interview, I was so like hooked on what he was saying and how like what he does that I actually went and bought his book off of Amazon, and I'm waiting for it. But man, it's a nice drive. Listen to podcasts, a lot of Joe Rogan, caught up on a lot of cool stuff. Listen to some Sweep the Rack, honestly, caught up on some old shows just to see how we sound now compared to then, and see if we could start improving on stuff. So yeah, other than that, glad to be, here. Mom's not here yet, so I got the house to myself for a little bit. And just gonna see what's going on here. How's things with you, man?
Bachelor in Vegas with the house to himself. Sounds good, man. Sounds like I need to catch flights, man, not feelings. Robert, what up? What up, Robert? How we doing? So yeah, man, things are okay with me. I actually finished a book this week. I've been reading about one book a week for the last since about the new year. I'm an avid reader. I love to read, and if anybody wants to talk books, hit us up in the email. I'll be more than happy to chop it up over some book recommendations. But I just got done reading a book called what was it? The King of the Nightclubs, the Nightclub King. It's a real true story by autobiography piece about a guy named Peter Gatien, who owned a series of nightclubs in New York, Limelight and Tunnel being the two most well-known. Palladium, Club USA were a couple other ones. And Rudy Giuliani ended up like running him out of the club game because he accused him of, basically like supplying drugs in his clubs. And yeah, it was an interesting story. And I frequented New York City clubs a lot when I went to school in Jersey City. Limelight was one of the places that I used to go to and hang out quite often. It was actually a club that was in a church, so it was rather crazy to go there. But good parties, good times, and I just wanted to read the book and catch up on that. So read that one last week. So yeah, I was doing a little reading myself. I do listen to Joe Rogan's podcast a lot. I catch most of the episodes on there. I usually don't catch the whole thing. They're longer format. I usually just listen to them when I go to bed. But if it's something that I'm really interested in, I'll catch up on it the next day. So glad to hear that your travels are good and your drive out to Vegas went good. That's good to hear, man. Things are the same with me. Bowling alleys in New Jersey open later this week. I think on Thursday, like tomorrow or Friday. Saturday's the 4th, so I think it's Thursday or Friday they open up. I don't know. I might go practice the day they open just to throw the rock, just to see what's good.
Oh yeah,
not really sure. I was talking to somebody earlier this week on Twitter, and I listen. Bowling's not a priority for me. It's just a hobby. I've said it numerous times before. I rarely ever make money on it. I mean, most of the time it's a losing money effort. But yeah, I'll definitely. I want to get back out and I want to practice and hit the lanes again. Sometime soon. So I'm happy to see bowling alleys opening up in New Jersey. Rob, COVID's spiking all over the place. So we'll talk a little bit later about how that might affect the PBA with some stuff coming up in the immediate future. But
the scamdemic.
Yes. Where are you at, David? David Pacau, where are you at? That centers aren't open yet. Like I said, Jersey, they're opening up later this week. But Rob, you've been in the bowling alley, son. Let's talk about that. Let's chop it up over that.
Man,
Rob putting out posts on social media alerting the bowling community that he's back. That he is back.
The last dance got me all pumped up to get back in the bowling alley, so.
It wasn't the last dance. It's me talking shit. That's what it is. It's me talking shit. You getting dropped from your contract. That probably lit the fire under you to get back out there, earn that contract again. It's funny. Doyle Irons, if you're in here tonight, he's been in here the last few weeks. He's back too, Rob. Did you see that on Twitter?
He drilled like 12 bowling balls. I'm just like, man, I'm not on that level.
He was wearing a Roto Grip shirt. If he got sponsored, I got beef, son. That's all I have to say. I mean
he is a wrestling indie champ.
If you're in here tonight, if we see his name pop up, we got to ask him that. We may even have to bring him on because I got to hear about that. But Rob, you're back. You're back.
Well, the interesting thing is the last couple of years I've been using a thumb pitch, and I went to an eighth forward. I wanted to relax my hand and try to get out of it cleaner, and wasn't 100% confident in the new grip. And I wasn't really practicing a lot either, so that really didn't help my cause. So I decided, I'm going to grab it a little bit. So that's how I've always bowled, man, growing up in Brooklyn. I've always grabbed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my zeros in my thumb. So I got 2 blanks, went in to see my guy at the pro shop at the Orleans. Shout out to Joel Vernoso. Man, that guy could drill a ball he is good. So I brought it in with him, drilled a couple, got on the lanes. Mike, grip felt fantastic. Felt as good as it felt back when, years ago. Body, on the other hand, not so much, but, I really felt great, and I'm excited to start bowling again, really start competing. And there's some local tournaments. I have some old stuff here that I kept. I have some blanks. So, man, we'll see what happens. But being where I am now.
Let the bowling world know. Rob is back. Sweep the rack. We're coming for the title this year. We're coming for all kinds
I'm coming for Stu Williams.
One of us is anyway. I ain't coming for shit. Maybe a few match wins here and there, but bowling community out there. JD, somebody hit up Doyle Irons. I need to know if he got
That's my guy right here. That's my guy. Go see him at the Orleans, my man. Yo, Joel's can punch a bowling ball, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, Joel, I'll when he wins something for the first time, I'll be the one to remind him what a good job you did when he comes on here and talks about how great he bowled and the moves he made, and I'll be the one who will remind him. So I'll keep his head in check over here.
Let me tell you something though. I'm gonna tell the bowling world right now. When I win a tournament, I'm not going to be thanking bowling ball companies. I'm going to be thanking my hard work and my dedication and me actually hitting my target and making adjustments and getting read on lanes. Because guess what, people? The bowling balls have nothing to do with how you strike. It's what you put your work in and how you make your moves. I'm excited, and I'm telling the camera, I'm excited to be able to throw all different kinds of companies and actually make some shots and bowl. So
that was a plug for him to possibly pick up a sponsorship, just so we're clear. He's already plugging. He's not even back a week. He's already plugging free balls. All right. We're going to move on from that. Welcome back, Rob. Hit me up when you want to bowl on some tough shit. All right. I know you like that cake shit. I know you like bowling on it. You've said it many times on here. You want to enjoy yourself and have a few drinks and all. That ain't what bowling's about to me. Not at the level that we were used to doing it at. So when you want to bowl,
Mike, I'll be bowling on tough stuff as well as bowling on easy stuff. You know me, like I can't resist it. There's a good tournament, I'll bowl. My preference is the scores to be, 215 to 225 leading the tournament. Okay. That's my preference. Anything higher than 225. Exactly. So like my preference is like, yeah, I want it to be like playable, but I don't want it to be like US Open Championship, like hard, where I'm like struggling to break like 500 either. You know what I mean? So we all have our preferences. Enough. Yeah.
Welcome back, and we all look forward to your triumphant return on lanes. Yeah. I mean, listen, I've never said Rob's game is weak or it's pretty. You got a pretty game. I always say that. I mean, it might be the prettiest game on Sweep the Rack. I don't know. It's debatable.
There's no debate there. I'm telling you.
For a big guy, my footwork is pretty impressive. I got to say.
You got a good footwork. You do.
Yeah, true. So, all right, Rob, we got a guest tonight. We're going to bring on in a little while, just to let the people know. That's normally not our format for this Wednesday night show, but we wanted to bring on a guest for an update. So we'll have that for the people in a little bit. A couple more things we want to get to here. I had some co-hosts last week. Shout to Dave. Shout to Jeff Butler, Jersey Jeff, for helping me out last week. Rob, I want to hear your thoughts, though, on the PBA League additions, the two all-female teams. Yeah, Rob, hold on. Rob should come out and bowl a Greg Tack event, Alex. You're right. He should bring his ass out here to the East Coast sometime and spend some time and come out and bowl an event or two out here. Maybe we could get a Sweep the Rack action match going.
Mike, I'll guarantee you a top 10 finish in a TAC event if I bowled it.
I'll
guarantee it.
Okay, well, we'd have to see. All right, but on to your thoughts about the PBA League, the two female teams added. I talked about it last week. I'll follow up again after you're done, but that's kind of the big PBA news in the time that you've been gone and commuting here. So what are your thoughts, man? You like the addition of the two female teams, or what's the deal?
I chimed in a little bit while I was watching you guys last week, half awake in the hotel room. And I have mixed feelings about it, and I'm going to be honest here. A lot of the bowling world is for it. I see a lot of support, right, for the women, for the ladies. Mike, I'll be honest with you, like, I might go against the grain here. And I'm not trying to start any shit, but I have mixed feelings about it. My main beef with it, and I'll talk about the positives, which is all over. My main beef,
and just to be clear, like neither, and we both kind of had a negative outlook here, but neither of us have that negative outlook because women are competing, right? I mean that's not where this is coming from, right?
No,
so
I'll tell you where it's coming from
about that, but we do have a little bit of a negative slant on it,
Yeah. One, the PWBA and the PBA are completely two separate entities. If the PBA owned the PWBA, I would completely be on board with this. Okay. My beef is the fact where they're going to be bringing in 10 spots of women to bowl, but which essentially they're taking away 10 more spots from guys. Okay. Because this is a PBA event.
From the organization that they own.
Yes.
Right. And that, I think that's an important distinction here. Like we talked about last week. They don't own the PWBA. It's owned by a separate entity. Like this would be like, the NFL promoting the XFL.
Yes.
You really wouldn't see that. It's two separate entities.
Two separate entities, completely on two different. You have two different everything, and then it's almost like taking away checks from guys that didn't get drafted, right? I mean, guys who were on the bubble, right? Guys, that we talked about weeks ago when they were on the draft bubble and they didn't get drafted. And, there was a lot of kind of I wouldn't say pissed off pros, but a lot of disappointed pros. And now imagine being that guy who would have been next got drafted. And then you bring on 10 ladies, 10 right? 10 more paid spots to compete. When in reality, instead of bringing two expansion franchises, which they did, right? Now they could have brought in 4 expansion teams instead of 2 expansion teams. Okay. Look, like that's my biggest beef is it's a PBA event. The guys are trying to support and be behind the PBA completely. and then you shun away 10 guys that could have been bowling. Really, that reminds me of my company when you're in line for a promotion, and then they hire outside and they come in and you've been working there for years, Mike, and you like end up all of a sudden, like they end up like hiring someone from outside the organization to be your boss when you were in line for a promotion. That's what annoys me, because it happens to me all the time in the professional world.
Yeah, I think it's fair to ask, and Billy, this is in response to your comment too, because no one's saying it's not a good thing and doesn't help promote bowling in general, right? You're right, we agree with that, but I still think it's fair to ask, what is the PBA's intent in promoting the PWBA? I really think that's fair to ask. I mean, if resources and money and time and slots on TV, appearances, etc., are being given to this other organization, what's the bottom line here? What's the motivation?
Mike, you want to hear? You want to hear my?
If you haven't done your homework on Coley Edison, do your homework. I mean, I've done my homework, okay, and she is a very pro-female business person. Okay, Mike, do your homework. She belongs to organizations that promote the growth of women in business. And again, nothing that I'm against, but I wonder to myself, like, does that have something to do with this? Would she rather be promoting the women's side of the game, or does she feel it's just as important to promote the women's side of the game as it is the men's side of the game, which it is if you weren't the CEO of the men's side of the game only. So, right. I want to be clear about that. So if you haven't done your homework on that, do your homework on that. And, I think, you'll see pretty clearly. But interesting to me, that development. Rob, here's what I would have rather have seen. Add 2 more teams for a total of 12 teams, okay? And then have at least 1 woman on each team, on each roster. They easily could have done that by allowing the new teams to draft players from the existing teams, right? That would open up a spot on all those. And then all 12 teams could have come back for an additional draft to add a female player to each roster, and they would have competed. And they would have been a part of the lineups and been on every team rather than their own teams, So, yeah, interesting to me, how that developed. But
is this I made a comment last week when you guys were doing this. Is this a Coley Edison taking a shot at Chad Murphy? I mean,
I don't know.
It's a fair question, right? I mean, look, like Coley Edison is trying to, make it interesting, right? And I get what she's doing. But I'd like to ask Chad Murphy what his thoughts and what, I obviously we'll probably get, I would imagine, some kind of PC answer, right, Mike? Like, he's not going to come out and say, well, it's Bush League, but I would really like to get his feelings, his under the rate, his real feelings off the record about what, that is, why they did that or whatnot. Good for the women though. I mean, look, the women could compete with the men. I mean, Kelly Kulick proved it. Liz Johnson proved it. I mean, they all proved it. It's
and like Alex just said, there's been women bowlers on PBA league rosters before, so that's not a new thing. I mean, the 2 female teams, though. I mean, I like I said, I would have rather have just seen it spread out amongst the rosters.
I'd rather see 2 guys teams.
Isn't she the first female to be, if on the board of the head of the PBA Tour? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I might even go further. She might be the first female to be a CEO of a professional sports organization. And there's something to be said for that. Kudos for that, right? But let's be honest about it. She didn't get there because of her background in bowling. Okay. She didn't get there because she came up in the game of bowling. She got there because she was a valuable executive for a bowling center company that ended up purchasing the PBA Tour. Okay. And that title of CEO on the PBA Tour, to my knowledge, is one of 2 titles that she has. She still retains her other position in Bolero. So I don't know what takes more precedence. Is the PBA CEO Tour, a part-time gig, or is that the main focus? I don't know. She won't come on our show. She'll go
know
on every
she
other
won't.
podcast, but she won't come
She
on
won't
here.
because you know why?
Which is fine.
Because
Listen, that's fine. She's entitled to do whatever she wants,
I'll
but
tell
we
you
want to
why,
ask.
though. I want to be honest with our audience why she won't come on.
I know, but
She won't-
because we
she
want to
won't
ask
come
the
on
real
because
questions.
we want to ask the real
talk about real
questions.
shit.
And she
we want to bring up real shit.
Right. And to the audience, we emailed her the questions that we wanted to ask. And
That
she
was a
turned
while
us
ago,
down.
yeah.
But I don't care. But that, to me, that's Bush League. Like, come on, like, talk to us as real fans, like as a real podcast. Answer the right questions. Mike, my opinion, we've had plenty of guests on this show, including the guests we're going to have on tonight, who could probably do some, know the bowling industry, been in it their whole lives, run companies. We've had on guys like Chris Shaw-Tran, right, who runs Kegel, right, who's been in bowler. He's a bowling CEO.
We had on Mo Pinnell, who's run bowling ball companies, etc.
Bruce Falcon would even be an interesting, like, someone to run the CEO of. I mean, just guys who are in the marketing, but also are bowlers themselves. And that's a whole nother king caboodle.
Well, I'll say this. Listen, there was no need for a change. Tom Clark was doing a phenomenal job over the last couple of years.
I wouldn't say phenomenal, but I'd say good job. I wouldn't say phenomenal. I mean, he's been doing a good job.
Getting that deal with Fox and the changes that came out of that are the push for me in that. Sure. I'm not going to go as far as to say that the guy saved the professional side of the sport, but things were down and out, and under his tenure, things have improved, and I think that says a lot. And I didn't really think there was a need for a change there, but people did, and that's what happened. So, it is what it is.
They need the money from Valera. They needed the check.
I hope that the ears are open, though, Rob. I really do. I hope that these people are listening to those that do have that invested stake in the game. All right, enough about it. We talked about it last week. We talked about it this week. We're going to move on. I'm going to say this too: the PBA league ain't going to go off when they're saying it's going to go off.
Oh, COVID.
It ain't gonna happen, man. I'm sorry. Like everybody's so pressed to get back to bowling, and I get it, but like that's what's gonna lead us down the road of having to shut down again, right? So you see these increased cases popping up, et cetera. And listen, I don't want to turn this into a political show about COVID, but this is just my opinion. The PBA league ain't gonna go off when they're saying it's gonna go off. It's gonna get pushed back. The USBC tournament is likely not gonna run this year the way things are looking. Listen, we have to deal with some of these things as realities, for what's going on. So that's where I'll end it. I think we'll have a lot more time to talk about it again, because I don't think it's going to take place at the given date right now. But we'll see going forward. All right, Rob, we're going to move forward. We're going to keep it moving for the people. Not our usual format on Wednesday nights, but we're going to bring a guest on. And Rob, the reason we're bringing him on is because we just released an interview a couple days ago with Mr. Ron Hicklin. If you guys aren't aware from the company Creating the Difference, you should check out our interview with him. It was a good interview, a lot of great stuff in there. But Rob, we had that interview banked. That was part of like some of the recorded stuff we were doing, and we're kind of transitioning to live. So we put that out a couple days ago, and in the interim, he's actually made some big moves, some notable moves that we wanted to invite him back to give us an update on. So, Rob, let's bring him on. Let's get the update. Let's get the news. Let's see what's going on. Ron, how are you? Welcome back to Sweep the Rack.
Good, man. I appreciate it. This is round 2. That was good. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
The funny thing is, Ron, wait, hold on. The funny thing is as soon as we did our interview, and I'm sure you had it in the works, right? Like you were doing what you were doing, but you couldn't announce it. 3 days later, after our interview, all of a sudden this big announcement comes, and I was just like, "Oh man, we missed him at like the worst possible time." But here you are. Sorry, Mike, wanted to cut you off because it was just.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And listen, he's smart enough to know not to share information with us. It's like you share it with us, it's going out. So we've been in that position before where. We had to have episodes recalled because we were discussing business deals that couldn't be discussed. That's how we roll over here, but all good. So, Ron, update the people. Tell them what the news is. Rob alluded to it. I alluded to it. Let us know what's going down.
Yeah, man. So basically, Creating the Difference acquired the old Ebonite testing facility. So it's 4 lanes. It's in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. It's also a big conference room, conference area, pro shop area. That building was built for used by Ebonite since 2010, and it's really the perfect spot for what we're trying to do with our brand. You know, at the end of the day, we're an educational company, and we're going to be able to use that building and that space to continue to educate bowlers and grow the sport of bowling. We actually don't call it a testing center or a testing facility. We call it an education center.
Okay, so my first question is this. Like, I'm not real familiar with the Ebonite grounds, but is this center part of their factory, or is it separate from the factory?
So it was separate. So Ebonite actually had 3 different buildings. They had the main plant, which had the plant and all of the stuff kind of surrounding to that, the warehouse, a couple of other little buildings on their main plant area. Then they had 2 other buildings. One building was their distribution center, which is where they shipped everything out of. Okay. And then there was the building that I bought, which is a totally separate building, not connected to either one of those 2, which was that testing facility building that they had.
Okay. All right. So generally in that area, but not a part of their actual campus, I guess you could say.
Correct.
All right. And tell us, what are your plans for the place? I mean, have you already implemented some things that you wanted to do, or you're in that process? When are you opening? What are your plans there?
So the initial plan was, man, let's get in here and let's get it going. You know what I'm saying? Let's get some bowling going. Let's get it cracking. Let's go. But then we got in and we were like, wait a minute. If you really want to do this right, if your goal is really to grow bowling, and we want to do a lot of virtual education, a lot of YouTube type content, why don't we just do it the right way? So what we decided to do was a lot of renovating, doing the inside, doing the outside. We have a lot of new technology that we're going to bring into that building. We're going to have some very, very unique things that will allow us to educate to a higher level that's not really done right now currently in the industry. We're looking forward to being able to work with all the industry partners to be able to bring products in, be able to bring people in, coaches, teams. Anybody who wants to get better with bowling, they'll be able to leverage this resource, whether it's live and in person, whether it's virtual through watching some of the videos or the content that we're going to put out. Our goal to open is August 1st. Everybody keeps telling me that's ambitious, and it probably is, but we're doing everything that we can to be able to get to that August 1st date. And it's going to be a lot of fun, man, because as an engineer and as somebody who's worked in that facility, designed a lot of bowling balls and threw them there, I have a real good appreciation for what happened and what went on there. But there's a lot of things that I want to know. Like, there's a lot of things that I've wanted to know or wanted to test or wanted to be able to do since I've been out of the bowling ball side of things, and just really wasn't able to do that without having your own facility. So now we got our own facility. So we'll have some real interesting videos you guys may find, kind of controversial, edgy. I know when I jumped in, you guys were a little heated already. So, if you got fire questions, you go ahead and fire them out my way. I'm all about it today. This is a good day for that kind of stuff.
I'm always heated, Ryan. You know that. I've always got a chip on my shoulder. That's amazing. So let me ask you, as a bowler, what can you talk about anything that you feel like is going to come out of this that you wouldn't like, any products, or like, what is an advantage for me? What should I look forward to? Is there anything you can talk about?
Yeah, man. So like this is the thing. A lot of things in bowling are subjective. And the problem with subjectivity is it depends on the person. Like ball reviews. Have you ever seen a ball review where it was a bad ball review? Like the guy was like, yeah, this ball's just not good. Like, this is a terrible ball. Have you ever seen one?
No.
Okay.
I would love to do one. No, I would love to do one.
Here's the thing, right? So
I had an idea. Rob, we discussed it, to do real ball reviews. The problem is, like, no one's going to give you balls to talk about how their balls suck.
See, there goes the key right there, right? So if they're giving you the balls and you start bashing them, you're probably not going to get them no more, right? So our goal is not to bash companies. I mean, we're not in that business either. But the goal is to start to put some objectivity to it. So instead of it being a subjective, well, this one does this and it's longer and it hooks more, no. Why don't we start to put some science behind it? Why don't we start to put some numbers behind it, some data behind it? Why don't we have a comparison ball in there? Like why don't we do that? So there's a lot of things from a educational standpoint that just aren't currently done for whatever reason. And we will be able to do those things. I think, the ball manufacturers, they probably have the ability to do that. And in some cases, they do some of that, but they're only going to do it within their own window, within their own, unique brand or whatever. So this is an opportunity for us to be able to do everybody's bowling balls. we'll be able to talk about all the bowling balls. And I don't want to do it in a good versus bad fashion. I want to be able to do it in a fashion that's more of a numerical fashion. That's more of a objective fashion. So it's not about Ron's opinion or Rob's opinion. It's about what the data says. And the data is not going to lie to you. And data doesn't care whether it's purple or whether it's blue or whether it's pink. It is what it is. So that's one of the small pieces of things that we want to do from that in that building.
That's cool. Hey, so I'm going to set the scene here. Hold on, Mike. I'm going to set the scene here. I'm going to do, imagine me, Rob, a Storm staffer, right? I'm doing a bowl review, the new bowl that comes out, right? I get the video out. I throw 5 shots, flat 10, flat 10, flat 7, 7-10, Greek church. I look at the video. I take the ball, throw it in the bag. It's garbage. The end of review, right? Could you imagine the reactions to Storm when they watch that? You're right. I would never get a ball. But I mean, sometimes that's the reality of it, though, right? Like the ball, like stinks. I mean, we talked about it on our interview when we had with you about, hey, just some balls just don't work out. But every ball is the greatest ball that's been through. This one's going to strike for a year. This one, it's like you're trusting these ball reviews that are done by staffers. Right? These are staffers that they're not going to say a bad thing about the ball. So, Ron, I think you're on to something. If you need someone to do a review, I'll be more than happy to give you a realistic review of a bowling ball. But you got a whole testing facility. I don't really have that.
Ron, if you didn't hear earlier in the episode, Rob's back. He's back in bowling in a big way. So he's advertising his services to everybody tonight. I mean, it's across the board. No shame of self-promotion over here.
Hey, look, man, maybe we can do a Sweep the Rack podcast actually in the education center. You know what I'm saying? We can have both of you guys in. Rob can be the bowler. Mike and me can make fun of him bowling. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can make it a whole joke.
I'm ready for it. I'll flat 10 all day. Don't worry.
So, Ron, I know, we said your company is Creating the Difference. Is that also the name of the training center, or do you have something different there?
Yeah, so it's Creating the Difference Education Center.
Okay, all right, cool. Just so people know, obviously you're doing your own thing, and I don't want to throw shade by bringing up another company, but here's what comes to my mind when you describe this. And there's only one of these companies out there, really, and that's Kegel, right? In my mind, that's really doing the educational side of the game, training facility side of the game. Sounds like that's the route you're going, and I really like to hear that because the game needs more of it.
So it's interesting you say that, right? So the way I kind of view it is this, and we love Kegel. Like before I had this building, we were going to Kegel every 4 or 5 months to collect the same kind of data. So it's a little bit different, right? Because Kegel does a lot of education and a lot of training on the physical side, right? A lot of it is physical game stuff. Now they obviously do the rest of it, but when you think of Kegel, you think physical game. You think I need to fix my arm swing, go down to Kegel. So, and they're great at doing that. So where we're a little bit different, we will have the physical game side as an option too, but it's the building is more to be used as an educational studio. So it's going to be more than just me working with you, Big Mike.
Right.
Rob. It's going to be how can we use maybe Rob throwing the ball as an educational tool for somebody watching it on a live stream. I'll give you an example. This is something that we just talked about doing like literally today. So you guys are getting some like firsthand information. So we talked about we have a staff, and that's kind of where this whole thing kind of centers around is our staff. It's free to join. You go to the website, you click on staff, you join our regional staff program. It's free. You're in.
Once Rob, there you go, Rob. Rob will be on there as soon as this is over.
That's your in. So once you're in, you get into our Facebook group, and you can ask questions, post videos, all that kind of stuff. But here's where it's useful. We talked about today having a situation where we have our staffers go through a process, which we're working on, to qualify, okay? You qualify, and basically when it's all said and done, you get an opportunity, somebody does from the qualification, an opportunity to come to the education center to bowl in the education center against EJ Tackett, who's on our pro staff, right, for $1,000. Now, you say, well, why would you do that? There's a whole lot of education in that match. It's a 3-game match or it's a 5-game match, and the concept is real simple. On the first game, we're going to let both of you guys, EJ and the contestant who wins, they're going to bowl in the house pattern. So, there may be, the guy's a good bowler, it's a house pattern, it's China, it may be kind of close. But the next game, we're going to go bowl in a PBA pattern. So we can begin to see some difference because that's one of the big things that people don't really realize. I mean, the pros, you don't realize how good the pro is until you're bowling on a pro pattern. Then you realize how much better they are than you, right? Okay, cool. So we got that. That's 2 games. So then we say, well, look, we want to do some more education with this. So the third game, what we're going to do is we're going to force the pro, EJ, we're going to force him to bowl on a pattern with the wrong ball surface because the ball surface matters. So all of a sudden, maybe if EJ won the first 2 games, right? Maybe now he's at a little bit of a disadvantage because we're gonna specifically make him bowl with the wrong surface, right? So then you can begin to see how that plays into it. Then if it goes past 3, we go to the next game. We'll make the amateur bowl with the wrong surface. So they can. Okay. So there's a lot of opportunities to just do education. Or $1,000 wager in there for whoever wins. It adds a layer of pressure. So then you can begin to talk about well, how does the pressure impact the bowler? So at the end of the day, man, the whole purpose of that building is it's different than everybody else. We want to use it as an educational center to be able to get people to understand things that they may not understand, whether you're physically in the building on a one-on-one session or whether you're there or whether you're online watching it on a live stream.
Yeah, I think we can all agree, too. There's a lot of misinformation and miseducation out there in the bowling world for sure. Ron, listen, congrats, man. We appreciate you checking back in with us. Come back again regularly. Give us updates on how it's going. Here's what I'm going to leave you with, though, because this is Sweep the Rack, and, we got to bring the smoke every once in a while. It's got to feel good to go back to the company that fired you and buy a building off of them. No?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going to leave it at that. We're going to leave it at that.
Me from staff too.
Yeah. I wanted to ask him how much that check was, but let's just say there were a lot of zeros. There were a lot of zeros.
Commas. A lot of zeros.
Okay. But that had to be a good feeling. So good for you, man. Good luck. Come back, check in with us. And people, listen, check the website out. All right. Creating the Difference. Ron, thank you, man.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks, man.
No doubt. So, Rob, like you said, kind of coincidence there where we had him on and we posted that interview and that news broke and, we just wanted to have him back on to update, obviously doing big things there and great things there. Rob, just go on the USBC message board page and people will see how much misinformation there is out there in the bowling world. It's hilarious and comical. Rob, we want to keep it moving though. We're gonna just have one last skit here for the people tonight, and we're gonna spin the wheel of answers, the Sweep the Rack wheel of answers. Let's do it.
All right, let's bring it up here.
Let's do it. Sweep the Rack wheel of answers. People want answers. They want to hear us talk about things. It's the interactive show. Maybe they'll have some opinions. What do we got here?
Oh, can we spin it again? That's a terrible.
Favorite bowling shoes? Favorite ball? Oh, I like that one though.
No, I like that one. Okay. Well, can we spin it again after?
All right, it's our show. We can do whatever the hell we want. Yeah, spin it again. Go ahead.
I don't want to talk about my bowling shoes.
I love talking about bowling shoes.
This is a better one.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness, the best fight story. Mike, me and you growing up where we grew up, right? Like, we have some fight stories in the bowling alley, outside the bowling alley.
I've been in my fair share of scraps. I'll say that.
You've been your fair share of scraps. I've been in some scraps. I wouldn't say a lot of scraps, but I've been enough to be able to talk about it. So, I'm going to talk about mine first because your story is like the best story ever. From if you're going to share that story,
I don't know. I'll give that one in a brief. I'll probably share a different one though. But go ahead. Best fight.
Did I talk about? And I might have talked about this on a previous podcast. You know what? I'll just talk about it again because the audience. And this could be a really long story. I was born in Vegas. I was born in Vegas league, right? And it was just a fun league. You bowl once a week, and the final week is in Vegas, and everybody drinks and gets drunk, whatever, and it's like sweeps, and there's a lot of money involved. So the league, the tournament started at the Gold Coast at 10 a.m. We walk in, and I see one team, they're already doing shots at the bar when we walked in. Okay, I'm there to make money because there's a lot of money on the line, right? So I'm not drinking. I'm refreshed. I feel good. This one team is just getting absolutely hammered. So anyway, long story short, there's a team bowling to the right of me, and there's a old guy bowling. He's probably, I won't say old, but he's probably in his like mid to late 60s, and he's throwing headhunters at the head pin. Mike, this guy had the front nine, okay, throwing just absolute rockets to the head pin. So he's drinking his beer, front nine. All of a sudden, this kid who was on another team that was drinking walks over and absolutely blindsides this old guy, okay, who had the front nine for no reason. I saw it coming a mile away. So they're fighting. They're literally punching each other. The old guy, like put down his beer, took the shot, and then just started beating up this kid. Everybody jumps in. It's like this brawl, right? 6 people, right? Just fighting. My team getting involved. We're trying to separate him. It's the Gold Coast. This guy still has a front nine, Mike. Like 45 minutes to an hour go by. His shirt's ripped off. The ambulance comes. They patch him up, right? He's got stitches. Security takes the kid out, right? Whole thing happens on the lanes. An hour and 15. I'm already in like the end of the second game. This guy still has the front nine. Okay. Yo, the guy gets up, throws the first one in the 10th. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's gonna bowl 300 and kick ass all in a matter of like an hour. No joke. Ends up where he
knockout and a perfect game
in
the same hour.
He's stone 10s in the 11th, so he bowls 289. And it was the most amazing thing ever because I ended up getting a shirt out of the Gold Coast for him in the pro shop because he had no shirts. So I went and I got him a shirt and found out later that these teams, the reason why the guy cold cocked him or blindsided him was because he had beef with that team the week before they left to go to Vegas. And there was some words said and all kinds of stuff. And this kid was drunk and he told his team that he was not going to let this guy bowl 300 over his dead body. And he walked over and he blindsided the guy on the front nine. And it was just an all-out brawl. So,
okay.
And that's a short version of it, Mike. I mean, this was
listen, when we said best fight story, I thought we would be talking about a fight we were actually involved in, not one that we witnessed, but that's all right. I get you.
That's a good fight story, though. That's a good fight story.
No, it's a good bowling alley fight story. I agree.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so listen, and I'm not advocating violence here, but I've been in a lot of scraps in my life. I was raised in a way where, my dad taught me to fight. He taught me if somebody's got a problem with you or something to say, hit them first and hit them hard. That was one of the many pieces of advice he gave me about fighting. He actually used to make me fight sometimes. The first fights I ever got in my life were fights that my dad witnessed something happen, and he forced me to go and fight the person that had, wronged me in some kind of way. One of those was actually in a bowling story where I had the front nine and I missed, and my dad was all the way in the back hanging out incognito, and this kid who didn't like me yelled out, "Oh, you suck." Like my dad grabbed him, dragged him outside, like was trying to force the kid to fight me. Kid wouldn't fight me. But the fight story I'll tell tonight, another piece of fighting advice that I always got from my pops was that, no matter how tough you are, you'll always run into somebody tougher. And, I found this out to be true eventually. So I was in college, and the week before I was at a house party, and there were these guys at this house party who were not from our school, but they were like, kids that people knew from the neighborhood. They were there hanging out. They were just being really rude. Like there was a line for drinks. They were butting the line or whatever. And I happened to say something to one of them. And that dude was a big dude, but I think I was a big dude myself. So I said, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, why are you butting the line? You're being rude to people or whatever." We had words, and they got tossed from the party by the people whose house it was. So they got tossed out of that party. Fast forward the next week. We go out to Hoboken, New Jersey for a long night of drinking. And I mean, I am feeling no pain at all when we get home. So we hop out of the cab, and we're on like the main street where our school is, apartments and whatnot. And this kid yells out, "Yo, Big Mike, yo, come here." And I'm whacked out, like I just kind of stagger up to the person thinking it's somebody from school. Well, dude cold cocks me right in the face so hard he knocks my contact out. I wore contacts at that time, so he knocked my contact out. Now, earlier this day, actually, I had been playing basketball and I broke my pinky. And I had a splint on my pinky because I hit with a basketball, jammed my finger, broke my finger, put a splint on there. So kid cold cocks me, knocks my contact out. I got a splint on my pinky. And, I'm like, all right, so what am I going to do here? So I had no back. He had his boys all outside. He was ready to brawl out right away. But I wasn't going to brawl out with nobody having my back. So I ran upstairs, got the guys that I went to the bar with, told them, I'm about to fight this dude downstairs. You've got to come out and watch my back. Shout to Matt Sherman, one of my college teammates. He's here. He was there that night. Now, this isn't a pretty story. Listen, I said you always run into somebody tougher. I'll throw down, but hey, listen, if you fight a lot, you're going to run into somebody who's tougher. So I ran upstairs, got my boys, brought them downstairs, and on my way out of my apartment, for whatever reason, I thought to myself, I got to even up this fight, because he already knocked my contact out. I got a broken pinky on my right hand, so I know I can't throw a full punch with that. So I grabbed this mug. It was like a giant beer mug that fit like 3 beers. And my plan was to go down and throw a punch with the mug. I know, very, very, very stupid plan. I understand, but I was trying to even.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
So I grabbed the mug. I walk outside. He's still outside with all those people. I put my hands up in the air. I was like, yo, listen, I'm like, I got a broken pinky. I'm like, I'm going to take my splint off. I'm still going to fight your ass. And I went to, ran down the steps to go at him. And I cocked back the mug. And this dude jumps on top of a car. Okay. He goes hood of the car, then roof of the car, like 1 foot on the hood, 1 foot on the roof. And then I swung the mug at him. I missed him. I hit the car. The mug explodes all over the car. And he jumps from the top of the roof of the car, gets me on the ground, starts pounding on me, right? Gets a few good shots in on me. I get up. My nose is busted open. I got blood all over my shirt. I got a white T-shirt on. There's blood all over the place. And I was like, nah, we're not done. Let's go. We just started. So we again jump in and we're going at it. And yeah, he definitely got the best of me. There's no question about that. I took my lumps in that fight. But I gave a few lumps as well. So I'm all bloodied up. I forget who stopped the fight. I think it was my boy Brooklyn Pete who stopped the fight eventually. And we heard like people running down from the school, security guards, things of that nature. So everybody was kind of ducking their own way. So I ran up the street, and again, I'm bleeding. Like my face is bleeding, my nose is bleeding. I got blood all over my shirt, and I duck into this like little apartment stairs where it's like a shielded apartment stairs leading up to these apartments. Not for the school. These were where like regular people lived. And the next thing I know, an ambulance starts coming down the street, like a legitimate ambulance, lights on and everything. And I turn to my boy Pete, and I'm like, Pete, did I really get my ass beat that bad? Like somebody called an ambulance for me? Like I'm not that bad. Come on. Like I got a busted up nose. I'm bleeding, but I ain't that bad. And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think you need an ambulance. I don't know why somebody would have called an ambulance. Well, here, I was so whacked out of it. Coming out behind us, out of the door of the apartment, was a pregnant woman who was having her baby. So the ambulance wasn't there for me. The ambulance was there for the pregnant woman. And, the next day, actually, I think I woke up and I had to go to a college bowling tournament at Penn State. And I bowled with the broken pinky. Look, my pinky still doesn't go all the way straight, if you can see, from that incident. Still doesn't go. That's as straight as I can get my pinky on my one hand. And I went to Penn State the next day, bowled at Bellefonte Lanes over the weekend. I actually finished second in all events to Mike Fagan that weekend with a broken pinky, with no splint on, lumped up after a fight and all that. And off a bad hangover too. So, listen, was hoping Bill might, oh no, never. To the contrary, I was probably always the one who was going to scrap for Bill if there needed to be a scrap. This is true, Rob, right?
We'll save the Cracker Barrel fight story for.
I'll tell that one too. We were at Youth Masters in Ohio, and this was a good one. This is when Bill was chunky. I mean, he was chunky back in the day.
I got pictures to prove
it. Skinny Bill O'Neill, you all know from today, and we went to a Cracker Barrel, and Bill had some leftovers. He brought the leftovers.
Wait! It was me, you, and Bill, though. It was just me, you, and Bill.
Yeah, it was the three of us.
Funny thing is.
And then he had leftovers. He wanted to bring it back to the hotel. So he packed up his leftover. He left with them. And as we were leaving, there were these 3 kids standing outside. And, one of them made a comment. Like, I think Bill decided to throw the leftovers away or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. But one of them made a comment. Yeah, like, oh, big boy, like, aren't you going to want those leftovers or something? And like,
it was great, yeah.
Yeah, we're walking away, and I'm saying to Bill, I'm like, yo, Bill, like, yo, they were talking to you, dog. Are you like, you're not going to say nothing to them? Like, you're going to let that ride? And he's like, oh, no, it's cool. And I just got
Bill was in the fight, yeah.
I'm like, nah, they ain't fucking talking to my boy like that. Get out of here. Yeah. So, yeah, I pulled the car up. I just told him, I said, yo, I'll hop out of this car, and I'll wrap this shit right around your head.
Yo,
son.
You were waving the club, though. You had the club.
I had the car club. That's right. I had the car club. The
red club. You were waving out the window.
I took it apart, and I waved it out the window. I said, yo, I'll get out of the car and wrap this shit around your head, son.
But here's the funny part of the whole story is, so Mike pulls up right in front. These guys are sitting outside the restaurant. Mike pulls up, starts yelling at these guys like with a club. He's like, how would I like, Bob, I'm going to come out there, whatever. And then he went on this like 3-minute deal. And then at the last possible moment,
right. I know you're going to say they all had the style.
Yeah.
Style back then for us was ankle socks. You did not
right.
These dudes were rocking like the style today, like socks pulled all the way up their heads.
So Mike has the club in his hand. He just finished berating this guy, talking about his mom, whatever he could do. It was the biggest berate of all time. And these kids, they're like mouths just dropped. They didn't know like what to do. And then all of a sudden he says this. And by the way, nice socks, motherfucker. And dude, I literally remember how I must have like literally lost myself because I was crying. I was laughing so hard when we drove back to the Youth Masters to go. I think we were bowling like the last squad or whatever. I was in tears for like 20 minutes, and the whole rest of every time till then I talked to Mike. I said, Mike, nice socks, motherfucker. Like it was like and we would all laugh, but. Dude, I'm so glad we got to tell that story.
I was never scrapping with Bill. I was scrapping with Bill together, really. So listen again, not to promote,
don't promote fighting in this
way. A lot of those incidents I look at as rather foolish. But the next time this comes up on our Wheel of Answers here, Rob, I will tell the story of how at a college bowling event I once offered to fight an entire team of college players. I told them line up outside, and I will fight you one after the other. So yeah, I was never one to back down from a fight. Today, that's a little bit different because I worry about somebody suing me or losing my job or something of that.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about the Eagles-Jets game we went to a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was close. Actually, you know what? In the last I'd say 10 years or so, that's probably the closest I've come to scrapping it up with somebody.
A real quick version of his Mike came to a game with me and my brother and our friends when the Jets played the Eagles at Jet Stadium, and obviously
all Jets fans, one that had Eagles gear on.
And we sat in the cheap seats.
Hold on, Rob buys tickets in the cheapest ass seats you can get.
That wasn't my deal, dude. That was my brother's friends, man. It wasn't me.
4 rows from the top of the stadium. Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't me. I paying for
when you buy the cheap seats. But go ahead.
So we sat in front of this. We sat in front of this kid who must have been about 115 pounds, who was there with his He was there with his mom, and this kid is the worst type of fan. And I'm not going to say Jets fan. I mean, he's the worst type of fan, right?
As soon as
you walked in, he was on mic. But at first, it was more playful, right? We were laughing, like, we know he's an Eagles fan. And then he started getting probably whatever it was. Yeah. He was getting abusive. And
really
it got to the point.
Is I had some good comebacks to his shit.
Yeah, the kid was getting pissed because
I know Jersey. I think at one point he was ragging on Philadelphia, and I stood up and I was like, "Oh, well, Jersey, Moonachie is so much better than Philadelphia. I'd much rather live in Moonachie."
Yeah. But, after about 2.5 quarters, maybe 3 quarters of this,
and the Eagles were kicking ass too.
The Eagles. This is like back when Tebow was, I think. Yeah, that was when like Tebow and like we were really bad. And Mike turns around. Yeah, and I know, and the abuse was kind of really to the point where it was uncomfortable just as fans watching the game. Like it was just getting to that point. And Mike turns around, stands up, and it's quiet, right? They're like probably like nothing's going on in the game. And Mike looks at the kid and says, "You know what? At least I'm not here with my mother." And the guy him and his mom just got pressed. And we were laughing. And keep in mind, like we were there with there was about 6 to 7 of us. And we were all
big dudes too.
Big
I mean,
kids. I was the smallest kid.
It was Dave's homies who were all big dudes. Morcillo was with us there. He's a bigger dude. So I mean, it was all big. But listen, don't come at me. The comment, Sherman, it wasn't Indiana State. It was Florida State in that instance, if you remember. Do you remember? Sherman's in the comments. He's one of my former college teammates.
I know Matt Sherman. Are you kidding?
That after it all happened, and I'll tell this story later, but after it all happened and things calmed down, we then took the van to get gas, and the same kids were at that gas station. They just happened to pull up at that gas station, and we got into it again, and things almost blew up again. But listen, like I said, in my younger days, I was quick. I was quick to throw down if somebody wanted to, but not today. I've changed my ways. I've learned my lessons. But I will teach my girls. I will. Yeah, you're right about that, sir. But I will teach my girls to defend themselves. There's no question about that. I will teach them a little bit of the sweet science.
They're gonna need to they're gonna need to these days, man. Like, you know what? Like, if I had kids, like I would put them on the jiu-jitsu mat at 3.
I mean.
Dude, jiu-jitsu is the best thing you can
should be able to defend themselves. And listen, I'm a teacher and all that. And again, like there's the right way of dealing with things. But, a huge issue in today's society is bullying. I hear about it all the time. And listen, I got bullied as a kid. I was heavy. I was overweight. I got bullied. My dad told me, listen, pick out the biggest guy, fight him. If you have to fight him 2-3 days,
fight yourself.
Eventually, they're going to leave you alone. When they realize that there's easier people to pick on, they're going to leave you alone. And he was right about that. And I did have to fight some battles and win and lose some, whatever. But people get the point. Like they get the point that if you mess with me, then you're going to have to go all the way. And I think that our society has lost a little bit of that. I think that today, kids are constantly taught, not to respond in that way. And again, I'm not saying that's not right. It is. But I don't know if that helps the problem or if that makes the problem worse. So I'll leave it at that. Rob, we're gonna wrap it up here. We had a good time tonight. Good respin on the wheel of truth for Sweep the Rack. Rocky's been a guest, making a guest appearance.
You just missed him. He was on the couch
here, so he must have got bored. He and he
can't stand me. He's annoyed by me for sure.
All right, Rob, we got PBA action coming up over the next couple weeks. So we'll actually have some action to talk about. We got the PBA Tour Finals. We got Lucy coming up.
Are we going to be able to gamble on it?
I don't know.
Can you gamble on it?
I didn't ask. I hope so. I hope we can.
I've got a taste of it, Mike. I can't go back to normal bowling anymore.
I know.
I gotta go back.
My summer budget is going to take a hit, though.
Yo, I'll talk about gambling. I'm in Vegas, and dude, it's fun, man. I think I'm getting a poker app here. I'm gonna, I got my sports betting app. I don't even got to leave the house, dude. I'm in all kinds of action. The stock market, like.
Well, enjoy yourself. Be safe out there, and I guess we'll probably catch people next Wednesday. I would imagine, right, Rob?
Yeah, I mean. We're doing what we do.
Unless something major goes down and we jump on, but we're kind of transitioning from the recorded stuff to the live stuff at this point. So we'll probably catch people next Wednesday. Maybe we'll have a little bit of bowling to chop it up over.
Maybe we'll try to get a guest on.
What's up?
Maybe we'll try to get another guest on.
Yeah, true.
I kind of like having a little bit of a guest, quick 15-20 minute discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
We gotta talk bowling until bowling really starts again. But who knows at this point? Whatever, the scandemic, that's a whole nother topic.
All right, man. Take it easy. Have a good week, brother. And we'll catch up with the people, man.
All right. Later.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring